I am so over this current format that we just have to start looking ahead. Hey, Nick from 9Card TCG, and today we're going to be doing our first post-rotation deck profile. It's not technically the first post-rotation video I've done. I did do a webcam battle with Justin Basil, but this is like I said, it's just the first full deck profile from Scarlet and Violet. I'm kind of excited to get into it because I can't talk about Lugia anymore. Now, I will say, in full honesty and full disclosure, there were some cards from Scarlet and Violet 2 that were shown off today. So, like the Final Evolution starters, EX, like the Masquerada EX, and all that kind of stuff. So, there were some cards. They're not going to be included in this because, well, I just saw them this morning, and I don't have the time and, frankly, energy. I went to the gym 4 days this week doing jiu-jitsu a lot. My bones feel like they're about to turn to dust. We're just going to be looking at a Koraidon EX deck. That's about it. So why don't we, if you haven't already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Tells YouTube this is a good channel. Other people should watch it. Koraidon. It's a card. Before we get too far into this, I do want to say that, like every deck profile, especially early deck lists that we do, these are just template deck lists. This is just a way for you to get started thinking about a deck, a combo, concept, whatever. And there's 1,000 ways you can build these, but this is just one. It was an idea I had. I kind of like the idea, but how practical it'll be is a different story. So the first card we have is, of course, Koraidon EX. And now this is an interesting fighting type Pokemon. It's a basic EX. It has 230 health. Dino Cry is the ability, and once your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fighting energies from your discard pile to your basic fighter Pokemon in any way you want. If you use this ability, your turn ends. So it's worth noting that we can use Dino Cry to attach to the active. We can use Dino Cry to attach to the bench. It does not matter. It just has to be fighting energy to fighting Pokemon. God, there is so much glare, and I really wish I could do something about it. But, oh man, I can't obviously say that. So, Koraidon does hit with Wild Impact for 220 damage, double fighting calls, and then this Pokemon can attack during your next turn. So, Koraidon is weak to Psychic, 2 retreat costs. We're losing Air Balloon, so that stinks. The next Pokemon is Great Tusk EX, 250 health basic Pokemon. You might as well call me Great Tusk EX because my nickname was Bedrock Breaker in high school. No, that's not even a good. It's not even funny. It's not even a good joke. A single fighting energy Bedrock Breaker does 40 damage and discard a stadium in play. If there is a stadium, you must discard it. It's not an option. And then for 3 energies, Giganto Tusk. Man, I really hope that they keep Bedrock Breaker as the name of the attack. They definitely won't. But Giganto Tusk does 250, and you do 50 damage to yourself, which means you go from 250 health on a basic EX to down to 200. Not ideal, but for the exchange of 250 damage, there are things that we can do to modify this to get it even higher. Maybe not that bad. We attach an energy for turn, Dino Cry 2 fighting energies onto it, and now we're able to attack next turn with the Great Tusk EX, knocking out pretty much anything, which is really, really cool. Now, one of the things that is going to vary in this deck from a lot of ones is that I'm running the Zamazenta V. This is the Regal Stance Zamazenta. One of the reasons I have this card, aside from it being absolutely beautiful, this is the art from Crown Zenith, is Regal Stance. Once during your turn, you may discard your hand and draw into your 5 cards. If you use this ability, your turn ends. It's just a nice way. You're bricking, you got a really bad hand, well, we can kind of fix it with Regal Stance, but we can evolve into the Zamazenta V-Star. And now, this is where the theme of the deck starts to come in. This is going to be a little bit more of a tank deck. Tank, hit hard, tank hard. Shield Star, once during your turn, you may use this ability during your opponent's next turn all of your Pokemon take 100 less damage from the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon after applying weakness and resistance, and this includes Pokemon that come into play during this turn or during your opponent's turn. So, our opponent goes ahead, let's say we got a Koraidon in the discard. We got a Great Tusk in the active. We're just going to move this over. If our opponent, we go ahead, we got the Zamazenta V-Star, we use our Shield Star, flip over our V-Star marker, and now all of our Pokemon take 100 less damage. They can't do, let's pretend, 350 damage to knock out this Great Tusk. So they say, you know what, we're going to Echoing Horn this Koraidon and then boss it up, and now I only have to do 230. No, you still have to do the extra 100 damage to knock this thing out, even though it came into play during your opponent's turn with the effect of something like Echoing Horn or whatever. So really, really cool, and I actually really like Shield Star quite a bit. So we're not going to be able to use the attack Giga Impact, but we don't really care. We're not running any, just spoiler right now, we're not running any type of energy outside of fighting energy, at least not in this iteration of the deck, and we're really just using it for the V-Star power. Next up is Lumineon, which lets us search a deck for a supporter card and put it into our hand. We're not attacking with Lumineon either, so we're just using it for the support. And then we have Drapion V, really for anything that's psychic. It's going to hit really hard. Wild Style lets us remove a colorless energy from the attack cost for each Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike, or Single Strike Pokemon our opponent has in play. This is really against Mew. This does not help that much against something like Gardevoir, where there are no Rapid Strike Pokemon. It's really just against Mew, so this may or may not be able to go in the future, depending on how the meta starts to shift. Now, a little bit more of that healing aspect is the Radiant Serena. We have the Elegant Heal ability. Once during our turn, we may heal 20 damage from all of our Pokemon, which is kind of nice. That worked kind of well with the Great Tusk. We deal 50 damage to ourselves. We attack. If we don't get knocked out, we can heal 20 of it next turn, which is kind of nice. So now we're sitting there and we're like, okay, Nick, you need 3 fighting energies onto this Great Tusk. You need 3 fighting energies onto Koraidon. How on earth are you going to get those energies into play before your Pokemon get knocked out? And the answer is Diancie. We're going to be running 3 Diancie from, I think it's Astral Radiance it might be, but this is the Crown Zenith version. Princess Curtain, as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to your benched basic Pokemon. So we got that Great Tusk in the bench. We got Diancie in the active. We're just again we got the Koraidon. We can go ahead, use Koraidon's ability, get some energies onto Great Tusk, and then Diancie's protecting us from our opponent playing something like, Boss's Orders to bring up that Great Tusk and knock it out before it can do damage. If we have 2 of them, we can protect against Escape Rope Boss. So what happens if our opponent plays Escape Rope and we only have the 1, then we have to send up something else. So I send up the Koraidon, and now they're able to boss up because Diancie's no longer in the active. So if we have 2 Diancies in play, now they play Escape Rope, we just send up the other Diancie, and now they still can't Boss's Orders our benched basic Pokemon, which is really, really nice. So we got the Diancie to buy us a turn or 2 so that we can start to power up our Pokemon. Maybe we have to use Regal Stance for a turn. Diancie again just kind of buys us that turn. Maybe they knock it out and they take a prize, but it's better than knocking out one of our attackers that we've been setting up and getting 2 prizes. We of course have the Bidoof so that we can use Beaverell, and Beaverell just draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. It's a really good Pokemon, and it's really nice in a deck like this where we want to discard stuff. We're going to be playing things like, as you'll see in just a second, I guess I might as well just skip to it. We're going to be playing things like Ultra Ball, where we can go ahead and just discard a bunch of energies from our hand and then get a Pokemon, fill our hand back up with Beaverell, and then use Dino Cry to accelerate the energies we discarded with the Ultra Ball onto our Pokemon with Dino Cry. So some of the other items we have do include the newly reprinted Nest Ball, if I can get them. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it directly onto your bench and shuffle your deck. One of the downsides of something like Nest Ball is that I can't use it if my bench is full. That means Bibarel. I have 4 cards in my hand. I want to get rid of that Nest Ball so I can go down to 3, draw extra cards. But if my bench is full, I can't play Nest Ball because there's nowhere to put that basic Pokemon. So, really kind of annoying. You do need that open bench spot in order to use Nest Ball. So do keep that in mind. And you're not able to thin an extra card like you would with Quick Ball because you don't have to discard anything to use Nest Ball. So, a little annoying, but, it's still really, really good either way. We gotta have those Diancys in the active, and our damaged Great Tusk or damaged Koraidon that we're gonna want to move around to prevent knockouts. And so we do have Escape Rope and also a couple of copies of Switch Cards. Switch Cards really nice because switch your active basic Pokemon with one. Switch your active basic Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, heal 30 damage from the Pokemon you moved to your bench. So we attack with Gigantotusk. We take 50 damage. We go ahead, we get attacked, let's say we don't get knocked out. The next turn, we can use Elegant Heal, heal 20, and then switch card, heal 30, and now we just remove the 50 damage we put on ourselves with something like Gigantotusk. So that's kind of cool. It also just allows us to keep our Koraidons and our Great Tusks around just a little bit longer. We have a copy of Hisuian Heavy Ball, so we can go ahead and get some of our one-of Pokemon, our Lumineon, our Drapion, Serena, our Zamazenta. Maybe we have a Diancie in hand and we want a second one. Well, we can Heavy Ball, get a second one potentially. So some options with the Heavy Ball. And then we do also run 4 copies of Gutsy Pickaxe, which is another way to accelerate energies to our Pokemon. So reveal the top card of your deck. If that is a fighting energy, attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. If it's not a fighting energy, put it into your hand. Worst case, it's a draw 1. Best case, you're putting an energy onto something, onto the bench, which is pretty cool. We have a little bit more tank capability with the new Rock Chestplate tool card. Do keep in mind, the trainer classifications are changing just a little bit. Rock Chestplate is no longer considered an item. It is just a tool. So things like Irida, you can't get something like Rock Chestplate because it says get an item. Tool cards will no longer be items, but your fighting Pokemon this card is attached to take 30 less damage from attacks. So now we're healing 20, we're healing 30, we're taking 30 less. Not bad. We can take 100 less with the Zamazenta. And then we also have Lake Acuity, which is going to allow us to take 20 less damage if we have any fighting energy attached to our Pokemon, which all the energy we have are fighting types. So we have 12 fighting energies in total. We really want to be able to find them. I know it's a lot of energies, but we want to be able to find them so that we can discard them with Ultra Ball. Right? This way we can use Dino Cry early to try and find them. And then we have our supporters. We have a copy of Judge just to move some, shuffle our hand, shuffle our opponent's hand. We're playing Lost Box. We really want to disrupt them. We got Roxanne. After they knock out some Pokemon, we can use Roxanne. They shuffle their hand into the deck. They draw 2. We draw 6. But you can only play it if your opponent has taken 3 or more prizes, which honestly, they knock out a Diancie, they knock out a Great Tusk. You're in Roxanne territory. So not bad. And then we do have a couple copies of Raihan because we want to be able to accelerate energies that after a Pokemon was knocked out, we want to be able to get some energies and then put them back into play so that we can start attacking immediately. Now, another tool card you could use is Experience Share. This way you have a benched, let's say attack with Great Tusk. You have one on the bench, is an Experience Share on it. Active Great Tusk gets KO'd. One of those fighting energies goes to the benched Great Tusk. Then you use something like Lumineon to find a Raihan. Now you get a second basic fighting energy from the discard, attach it to whatever Pokemon you want. In this case, it would be the Great Tusk that we want to attack with. And now we can go ahead and search a deck for any card we want. And if we have to search for, say, like a fighting energy, or if we have one in hand, we can search for anything else. We can then go ahead and attach that fighting energy. And now we just got 3 energies in a single turn. So pretty cool if you ask me. 2 copies of Boss's Orders to move up Pokemon. We want to take some big KOs. And then 4 copies of Professor's Research. Again, we want to be able to discard those energies pretty quickly. There are some variations of this deck that you can run. You can absolutely use something like the Hisuian Arcanine V, which lets you move fighting energies from your other Pokemon to it. And then you do more damage based on the number of fighting energies attached to your Pokemon. I do kind of like the idea of using experience share. You can also run this with Grant and Defiant Belt or Choice Belt, so that you can do even more damage. Grant lets you do 30 more damage from your fighting type Pokemon, so now that 250 becomes 280, plus 30 more damage from my Choice Belt or Choice Defiant Belt Band or whatever the other one is. Now you're hitting up to 310, which is pretty cool. So, you know, just think different ways we can play. This one's a little bit more trying to tank heal. I don't know how effective this is going to be, so we just kind of have to try it, but it can be something, can be a thing, and I do think there's absolutely room for improvement. So if you have ideas on how this deck could or should be ran, please, I want to hear about it in the comments, so let me know. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, found it informative. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff, and I will see you next time.